All right, at long last, we're gonna power this 30-yard wood chip pile out. It's been sitting for about maybe 6 months, so it's already starting to compost. It's pretty good. And we've got some help today, so we're gonna power it out. Here we go. Here's our back to Eden method and our back to Eden helpers. And by golly, we're gonna have a back to Eden garden here. And okay, so today we're going to prepare to plant potatoes. I didn't think I was going to be able to plant potatoes because it was so late in the season, but I found a local produce market that was selling potatoes. And I took their last 2 bushels of potatoes. And this is a red Pontiac potato, certified by the Canadian certification, whatever they call it. And we're going to cut these into pieces, and we're going to use this. This says black snake sulfur, and the guy in the hardware store told me it really is like snake oil sales, because they sell a lot more of it as a black snake repellent. This is really garden sulfur, and it just made into, they put this label on it. So what we have to do is we have to put garden sulfur on there to scab the potato overnight, so it doesn't go into the ground juicy and wet and vulnerable to insects. So I haven't done this in about 5 years, but this is how it's done. So you take a potato, and I have a mask on and eyeglasses on. This is sulfur, so it'll burn your eyes and burn your fingers if you have cuts. You don't want to breathe it either. So here I am. So got a potato. Pretty much it's shake and bake. So you put 2 tablespoons of this stuff. Wow. For every, I don't know if it's at a pound. I have to look it up. Basically throw this in there. I actually want to put it like face down in there. So there you are, it's covered. There. So you want to get 1 or 2 eyes on each one of these guys. This is the way we do it. Slice it, put it in here, actually leave it in there. No, I can take it out. I'm going to take it out. Juicy part, down onto the sulfur. Okay. And then we hope to plant these tomorrow. Otherwise, you could leave them out for 3 or 4 days on their own to scab, but this assures you can plant them the next day. That's all I'm going to show you right now, and we're going to be processing probably maybe 15 pounds of potatoes today. These are red Pontiacs. I also have Kennebecs, and I'll show you the planting process in the back too. We have processed in Payette. I processed these potatoes and put them sulfur, and we're leaving them out in the sun to scab off. And as per Paul Gauchi, I remember that he liked taking whole potatoes and planting them, the good whole healthy ones. So we just took the small ones and cut them up. These are the other ones. All right, here we are. We put the plumb line down, and now we're going to plant potatoes. But first, there's a little preparation. I told you I was going to show you step by step how to plant in wood chip. Well, the first part, because I think you guys are getting it now, you got to put a foot of wood chips down. In the first year, you can't really plant right in the wood chips. So I'm going to show you the cheat sheet right now. What you do is you dig a trench in the wood chips, about 8 inches deep. Could be less. And then I'm going to be planting where potatoes are going in here. They're going to be planted a foot apart, and I'm making the rows about 4 feet apart because I want to have nice walking paths in between. But there we got over there the secret sauce to the right over there on the tarp, and we're going to fill these trenches in with compost and a little bit of finished soil and a little bit of fertilizer, and that is the cheat sheet. That's how you can directly grow in the wood chips the first year. And after the first year, this stuff turns into black gold. It's the best. But for now, we're going to dig a trench and put good compost in there and plant in the compost. And I'm going to show you step by step how to start a garden from scratch using the Back to Eden wood chip method. Alright, so we've got 3 trenches dug. We've got all the compost we need over there. And we're going to get some, by golly. Thanks to Israel and Pyatt helping me out. God sends the help. Just when my back was starting to hurt. This is the black gold. Get for free from my town. It's called compost, mainly leaves. And we're going to plant potatoes here. And we're going to plant them right into the black gold instead of into unfinished wood chips for the first year. From this point on, I will never have to do this again. But the first year, if you want to plant in wood chips, you need to have some kind of soil amendment. So I'm going to put compost and a little bit of garden soil too. And you're going to see awesome potatoes come here. And I'm going to prove everybody wrong that doesn't like the wood chip method. Because I've done it and it works, especially for potatoes. Potatoes love this stuff. There's a little bit of a top dressing of soil, real soil. It's called garden soil, which is got a mix of everything in it. It's a garden blend soil from a garden center. So just a little bit of soil on the top, a bunch of compost, and then I'm going to top dress this with a little bit of organic fertilizer. So I'll have a rich foundation here of about 4 inches. So the final step is to, after we have put down the garden soil, is to top dress it with some manure. Now this isn't a science, this is hollycomb, and potatoes like it very acidic, like around 5 or 5.5, and this is acidic soil fertilizer made from chicken compost. I'm just going to put this down in the row on the top, and then I'm going to use my favorite tool, which is a garden furrow, a furrow hoe. Make like just rake it in a little, dig it in a little, mix the fertilizer in a little, and the potatoes are going to go right in there, in the furrow that I'm making. And then I'm going to cover them with wood chips. So piece by piece I'll show you how to do this wood chip garden, beginning with our potatoes, which are going to go in next. Moment of truth. Planting the potatoes in the rows that we have prepared with compost and garden soil and fertilizer. And they're going right into the trench. And I'm going to actually take Paul Gauchi's advice and plant in some rows whole potatoes. And these I'm going to put 18 inches apart. We're going to give everything ample space and let them just grow and thrive. There you go. There's one. You're going to do 18 inches apart. That's 2. 18 inches apart. That's 3. Wow, look at these beautiful potatoes. These are certified seed potatoes from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and they're Kennebecs. I think they're the last ones I was able to even purchase. These could have been planted a month or 2 here in North Carolina, but it was down to 36 degrees last night. So I'm probably planting just in time. 3. And all I'm going to do now, and from this point on, is I am going to cover them with compost. They're in a good foundation, and now they're going to be covered with wood chips. Covered with wood chips. I'll wait for them to grow. Covered with about 3-4 inches wood chips. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. And this will all be planted tonight, and we hope to see a good potato crop. We just planted the Kennebecs from Canada, 18 inches apart, and we have processed a whole bag of these, which is cutting the potatoes into eyes of 2 or more, and we have seasoned them with sulfur so they would scab over and be disease resistant. And we're going to put these babies 1 foot apart. Push them down into the compost soil mix. 1 foot apart. I have a feeling this whole field is going to be just potatoes. And I don't know if I'll have room for the tomatoes, but we gotta try to make some room for potatoes too. So these are going down the same method. You want to cover them, pie it, show them how they're covered. These are going down into the soil with the cut end down and the eyes with the growth end facing up. With these 2 eyes on them. And that's what we're doing there. 1 foot apart. It's so rewarding. So good. I like potatoes too. My father was from Ireland and my mother was Italian, and she would make spaghetti and meatballs. My father said, "Hey dear, can you make me a potato on the side?" So he really loves potatoes, and so I like them too. I like them almost any way you can make them. Alright. There we go. Grow, potatoes grow. That's the way you do it. We'll show you the finished product. And at the end of the season, we'll show you these bushels being filled back up with more potatoes. More than we could probably know what to do with. We'll wind up giving them away. Hey, everybody keeps on telling me about faith-like potatoes. Well, here's our potatoes. There's 3 rows under. You can't see it. And there's more here. Look at this. And we ran out of wood chips, so we're using the good compost for the home. Which will work, it's just that I don't know if we have enough. We'll find out. Okay, it's a beautiful sunny day. And what are we doing, Grace?
Planting potatoes.
Planting potatoes, and you've been wanting to do this. Yes. So we saved some for you to do. And Grace has planted the whole potatoes. These are also Kennebecs. And look how beautiful this is over here. We've got the rows all set up with the compost in furrows with soil and fertilizer, and now it's the planting time, and Grace is planting and planting. She is, and planting is a good natural thing to do.
I love it.
It's great, and so we appreciate you planting, Grace, and we appreciate the Lord enabling us with the work to do.
Yes.
This is so good to do. I'm looking forward to a whole field of potatoes. I didn't think we were going to do a whole thing of potatoes. And we almost couldn't buy potatoes. It's kind of late here in North Carolina, the planting even, and planting potatoes, that is. So we're towards the end of April, but it's going to be fine. They're going to grow fine. This whole field is going to be dedicated to potatoes, and even over here now we ran out of products, so now we put everything we could find, putting leaves, pine needles, and then we're going to top it with the good compost, which we didn't plan on using. Plan on using this for the other section, but it's going to be used for this. How many inches apart are you planting them?
I'm planting these 12 inches.
That's right.
12 inches apart.
So these are the cut ones with the eyes in them. You cut them and put sulfur on them. They've scabbed over, and there's quite a few of them. These are Kennebecs.
What makes this kind of potato one that you would want to plant?
Well, it's a good baking solid potato, tons of carbs. Big heavy duty carbohydrate potato.
Nice.
This is a big one. This is a good baked potato. And
kind of like a russet?
Yeah, I'd say so. We have more different types after this one. We've got, I think they're called red Pontiacs maybe. And they're the smaller boiling potatoes, I believe.
I'm covering up some potatoes.
What are you covering them up for?
So they can grow.
Right. So here we go. We are at the end of our project here, and we have planted, I've got to count, it's probably about maybe 60 pounds of potatoes. We're going to have a lot of potatoes. And we're putting tomatoes in the middle. And we ran out of wood chips. So we wound up using the good compost, which we get for free in the next town over. This is a 50 by 30 area, completely covered the grass, no cardboard, nothing. Just put a foot of wood chip or compost down. We got it all for free. And you can too. Chip Drop will bring you the chips, and your town will probably have the compost. Well, I am so blessed. We're just wrapping up this 30 by 50 field, and I am planting the last of the tomato plants here. And this is how I'm going to show you how I plant a tomato plant. So, of course, the soil has been prepared. There's been an 8-inch furrow dug in here, and it's been fertilized with a spoma fertilizer. I just popped this out. This is a 3-inch pot. This one's called an early girl, which is a good one. I brought my trowel out. But guess what? The ground is so well prepped, I don't need it. My favorite thing is to have the sun on my back and my hands in the soil. That's one of the favorite things I could do on this earth. So, that one's planted, and I'll show you the other two too, because this one here, here's another early girl. These are, I believe they're determinate varieties of early girl. I think they go both ways, but so I dig the hole down, and I will take my Fisker's scissor, you could use whatever scissor you want, and I cut the bottom leaves off, because you could plant a tomato plant really deep. And what you want to do is open up the root system on it so it's not bound into its own root system. I plant it pretty deep. I go in pretty deep with it, cover it back up. This is just about the only plant that likes to get planted deep. I see people planting trees all the time deep, and that's not good. I mark everything. In the beginning of the rows are my stakes, and they tell you how many and what date we planted. You should just know. So this is the last one. We've got about probably 45 or 50 plants here. If I added them up, I would be able to determine. And it's a beautiful sunny 80-degree day in North Carolina. And this is April 22nd, and or April 23rd, and these are going in the ground. So you tease the bottom out, cut the lower branches out, and you don't want to keep these. I never compost tomato leaves because they do bring diseases. They kind of heal themselves once they're in the ground and growing, but when in the pots, they're stressed out and you could have a disease on there. So that's it. Here we go. So let's give you a little tour of what we've just done. I planted 3 different types of plants that they come in 6-packs, like these. This is Brandywine, and they come in individually potted 3-inch trays. So I have a combination of both. This was kind of a last-minute decision. I bought locally, grown locally, and it wasn't super planned out because I didn't think I was going to get this done. But I've got to thank God and praise God for it. God says, the blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow to it. And there's so many riches in life besides money, and having a garden to me is one of those riches. And let me just give you a tour of this garden right here. So wherever you see a stake, something is planted. We've got the tomatoes here, and we've got the potatoes to the right. Now the potatoes, we've got about 40, 50 pounds of tomatoes, potatoes. I have to look at the receipt. We've got Kennebecks and red Pontiac, and I'm sure this has come out in an earlier video. And all of this material, it's about 30 yards of wood chip, and it's about 20 yards of compost, was all sourced for free. The wood chips were gotten from Chip Drop. They came and delivered them. And the compost, I had to go to my recycling center. And I was super blessed because instead of me having to shovel it, this is the first recycling center that I've gone to where they'll pick it up with a bucket truck, a bucket loader, and put it in the back of your truck. And we had a lot of help from the people here too. So we had a bunch of volunteer people and free sourcing. And I have planted these and prayed over these. And we're looking forward to a wonderful crop. And the next section is going to be down there. But I'm not even going to be thinking about that. I am so happy that I got this 30 by 50 planted. How am I going to water? Well, if you look over to the left, There's an IBC container there. That's 275 gallons, and we're gonna tap into our gutters and figure out how to get the water here to be a good free source of water. All right, thanks for watching. God bless.